Hi, this is Jocelyn Hardrick, founder of Diversity Access Pipeline, Inc., the nonprofit that runs the Journey to Esquire programs, including the Journey to Esquire Scholarship and Leadership Program, Journey to Esquire, the blog, and of course, this Journey to Esquire The Podcast. This is season 3. We are super duper uber excited. Our first guest for the season is one of our students who's coming back home. I'd love to introduce you to Ray Curtis Petty Jr., Esquire. He has just completed his journey to Esquire. He shared his video of him and his mom checking his bar exam scores and their reaction. And that video has absolutely gone viral. So we're going to show you a clip of that video right now.
I can't hear y'all.
Thank you for everything you've done for me. This for you. This is for Coco.
And without further ado, let's talk to Ray Curtis Petty Jr. Hello, Mr. Petty. How are you?
I am better than I deserve. Thank you for having me. That's it.
Thank you for making time out of your very busy schedule because you're doing all kinds of interviews. Everyone wants to know the backstory to this wonderful video that we just watched. You know, the absolute joy just comes through the video of when you found out that you passed the bar exam. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in this video. Why that reaction from you and your mom? And then we're going to talk about, you know, now that your journey to Esquire is complete, we're going to go back to the beginning, talk about why you started the journey, and then end with some advice for our listeners. So what's going on in this video?
Absolutely. So it's definitely a lot of going on here. So many emotions. I mean, it's just as much joy as it is so much sorrow that we just came out of. Just to even begin, I mean, this was my second time going through the bar exam. That wasn't my first. So, you know, that's just more added emotion of relief, you know, just feeling the sensation of, oh my gosh, I just finally passed the bar exam. Like, this is it. Like, this is what I've been dreaming of since I was a kid, just to be an attorney. So my journey, as far as with the emotions that came from this video, it really goes back to 2019 when my sister, Shakoti Sapp, who she was born with sickle cell disease, and she was also a registered nurse. She was on life support, and me and my family had to come to a difficult decision at that time to take her off life support. But miraculously, through prayer and just by some divine miracle, she recovered. She had every single organ in her entire body had completely shut down. Sickle cell disease had caused her organs not to be able to function properly, and just was a very unfortunate situation that just unexpectedly happened. But she ended up recovering. She was working, she was healthy, and until 2020 came about, and She had multiple surgeries on her knees. Somehow the sickle cell disease had caused infections to go to her knees, so she had to have multiple surgeries. So she was, at our residence, and I came in before my last semester of law school, and I found her on the floor unresponsive. So we later found out that she had passed away from sepsis in her bloodstream, and none of us even knew it. So it was a tough day for all of us, a tough year for all of us, not just our family, but it was in 2020. So we know that it was over the world. There was just so many tragedies from the COVID-19 virus. So a lot of those things, after my sister passed away, my mom so graciously supported me and allowed me to come in and live with her and said, she just said, hey, just focus on the bar. We'll try to figure everything else out in the process as far as your personal expenses and things of that nature. We're just going to fight it till we win. So my mom was like, look, I know you're older. I know you don't want to live with your mom, but we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. So she told me those things, and I believed her. But, the blessing about it was some of the financial burden, but the burden of it was still that I was going through my own grieving process. So that really kind of led me on a road to start dealing with my own mental health, because I lost a sister, but my mom lost a daughter. So I understood during that time that my mom could not carry my pain. And to throw a caveat on all this, my mom is a therapist. So, that should show viewers, everything that you need to know, because it's like, even in that situation, it's like me going to my mom, she's not looking at me as a patient, she's coming to me as a parent, and dealing with her own things. So what I end up doing for the rest of 2020, because after my sister passed away, I had 5 classes I had to complete at law school. After that, I had to go on military orders. And after that, I had to start studying for the bar exam coming into 2021. And then, of course, military orders again. And then I had to study for the bar again. So I give you this string of timeline just to say that I didn't have a time to necessarily grieve. I just buried myself in busy, which was definitely not the thing to do, which I'll probably go into later when we talk about more about mental health and things of that nature. But all in all, that was a bit of the backstory to the emotion that my mom seen my tears, she seen my sacrifices, she seen some days me and my mom would be in the house living together. She wouldn't see me for a whole week because I'm studying. I'm off. I'm just trying to be great. I'm trying to grieve. I'm trying to mourn. I'm trying to figure things out, doing DoorDash, just making whatever sacrifices I could, because I understood even then, even though my mom was supporting me, it's still my dreams. My dreams supposed to be my obligation. It's not her responsibility. So I was still striving even then just to try to be great, try to stay at sound of mind. But that moment when we finally opened those results, like the first time when I opened the results, I didn't even wait for my mom. I was like, I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off, and it is what it is. This time around, I said, Mama, I'm not opening this without you, so you're gonna have to be home when I open these results. And that's what ended up happening. And she even looked at me. She said, well, why did you dress up for the exam results? I said, well, Mom, I got to look like God had done something for me. So I gotta dress up. So I got to put on my cardigan and my bow tie. So, and that's what I did. I had planned that out, got me a haircut and did those things. And I said, I'm going to look like God had done something for me today. So, that day, planned it up. I said, before the video even shot, and I said it after the world seen it after, but they didn't see it before. I said, Mama, no matter how this turns out, I appreciate you. And I said, I know I wouldn't even gotten this far without you. And I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for Coco, my sister. That's her nickname that we call her, Coco. And I said, I'm thankful for my brother. I'm thankful, we're going to keep on fighting. I thank y'all for just supporting me over these years of my dreams. And that's when we shot the video, and then all those emotions, like she just knew. My mom seen it. She was a part of it. Like she seen those long nights. She seen the days that I forgot to eat. She would bring me food. Like she was a real mom. So I was happy in that moment when they say a proud mama. Like I was happy to make my mom proud. That's my mama, and I'm just so grateful to make my mom proud, to see her happy, to see those tears, to see that her baby finally made it. So yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what a great story. And I remember you put for Coco, so I'm glad you mentioned that was her nickname. And I reached out to you because my brother passed away in 2020. So like you said, it was a worldwide grief, and then you're dealing with your individual grief, and then you have a parent you're trying to support who also lost a child, which is heartbreaking. So I definitely understood what you were going through. And I think a lot of our listeners will too, because they've, been dealing with some grief. And it's an important message that you said, you can't just bury yourself in busy. You got to deal with it because it's going to catch up with you. And we definitely feel that Mama, I did it vibe from the video. And then, what's great about those videos? You watch it and you feel like you're a mama. Like, yeah, we did it. And I had nothing to do with it. I want to celebrate with you. So let's go back to, you said you always wanted to be a lawyer. So why did you decide to become a lawyer?
Yes, ma'am. So I think between my mom and even growing up over my grandparents' house when I was young, they used to watch the shows like Matlock and, Law and Order. I used to watch those shows and I used to be like, man, I can do that. I can do that. And I just grew up telling myself that I can do that. And it wasn't until, even when I was young, we used to have like career days at school. And I used to be that kid to go to school. I still have the photos to prove it. Like I used to have a too big shirt, the too little tie. And I used to go try to find one of my sister's bags or something. It was like, this is the suitcase. I used to try to make sure it looked kind of manly, And, but it was just great. It's what I wanted to be. It was my passion. I felt like it was my purpose. And I just was excited about that. And just always been in my heart. It never left my heart, no matter where I went. And I just knew somehow, some way that it could happen.
Yeah, I have the same story. We have a lot in common. I'm surprised, Matt, you remember Matlock.
Absolutely.
That's an old show for the younger viewers. So then, okay, so, just like me, you want to do it as you're younger, but you get older, you're like, oh, this is a whole process. Mm-hmm. What was your law school application process like?
Wow, mine was definitely grueling. I graduated from Albany State University in Albany, Georgia in 2014. But I didn't get to law school until fall of 2017. I applied to so many law schools. I've completely lost count, but I used to get so many rejection letters in the mail. My mom used to just throw them in the trash because she's like, well, I don't want you to get discouraged. So she didn't know I was getting the emails though. But it was just a process for me just getting in. But again, just like I told myself when I was a kid, if I just don't quit, if I can just keep going, like it's possible. And there was a time even to where we see like my family now, celebrating and supporting, but there's a time, if I'm being completely transparent and they would be truthful as well, that they were like, hey, maybe you should find something else to do. 3 years have passed by, it's like, I know you got this dream now, but you're getting older, you got student loans, you got to start thinking about what you're thinking about, because they didn't want to see me out here struggling or suffering, or, they wanted me to have my independence. So I never took those things to heart from them. But one thing I did always remind myself, if anyone can tell you not to do something and you not do it, and you don't do it, then it was never supposed to be for you to, it was never meant for you to do in the first place. So I just kept telling myself that I stopped telling people my dreams. I think that was a thing that I had to stop doing. And I started just working behind the scenes and just saying that, okay, I'm just going to keep applying. I'm going to keep applying. And it got to the point to where when I finally got my acceptance letter to WMU Cooley Law School, they didn't even know I was still applying to law schools. They didn't even know. It wasn't until I got accepted, they were like, okay, we're going to support you. Like, we got you. Because And like I said, it wasn't for them to see. Sometimes your dreams and your visions are not for you to see. Sometimes it's just for you to see and for you to realize. So I took that approach. I lived that approach. And I believe that this is why I'm here today.
All right. That's a story of resilience. And a lot of Cooley students have that story, which is why I'm so happy to be a professor there, because I get to work with students like you who are hungry. You're not just like, well, I'm gonna go to law school because I don't know what else to do. You were like, I am going to law school and I'm going to make this happen. So let's talk about your law school experience. First of all, you're always super well dressed. Second of all, you're very active, right? And of course, like I mentioned earlier, you're coming back home because you were in the Journey to Esquire program. So talk to us about your law school experience.
My law school experience was great. And here's why I would say that. It's because, number one, it's what I always wanted to do. So all of my professors that I had, especially my first year, I dressed up every single day. My first year of law school. I'm talking about suit, blazer, tie, the whole nine. I put my bag together. Like, I made sure that everything was on point. And people was like, man, first of all, why do you have so many suits? And then second of all, why are you dressing up every day? Like, why are you doing it? I used to tell them, like, look, I worked at TJ Maxx for 6 years prior to coming into law school. And people don't even know, like, during that 6-year period, I'm buying dress shirts, I'm buying ties. They say, why are you buying ties? I said, I got to look like God had done something for me. I said that even then. So I said, I got to look like where I'm going. I used to buy those things then. So I just knew that one day I'm going to law school. One day I'm going to do it. And even when I got there, I said that people, it looked like, it felt natural. It almost felt like it's that type of moment where they call it deja vu, to where it's like you've been living something that you've already experienced. That was my law school experience for me going into law school, because I knew, like, I already started walking where I was going to end up. I didn't wait till I got there to start being that. So my law school experience was great in terms of that. And even when it came to participating in student organizations and leadership, it was an absolute joy and honor, because Cooley wasn't just a school for me. It felt like family. It felt like family from a standpoint of the other students that I was able to come in contact with, and realize that we had so many similarities. Our backgrounds were very much similar. And just like you even alluded to, how you come in contact with students who are hungry. So to see our drives were that much of the same, just so much resonated with me. And I just wanted to serve. I wanted to be put in a position where, how can I make their lives better? Even though we're all striving and doing the same thing. Like, I'm big on community service and, service of country, things of that nature. So it's like, what can I do? My mom has always taught me, never take something out of a place and never leave a place unless you can put something back into it. So I've always tried to live with that mentality, even by being at Cooley. So it was an absolute joy from a student leadership standpoint. It was definitely an absolute joy from a student academic standpoint. And my professors have always opened me in with open arms, just like you, Professor Hardrick, giving me leadership, wisdom, and guidance. And even a quick story, like, I remember my first semester of law school when I was, my family wasn't down here as much. And Professor DeVos, she was doing almost like a Friendsgiving with a few of the students that she knew they didn't have family down here. And she came up to me. I think somebody told her that I didn't have anybody down here for this Thanksgiving. And she said, she came up to me after she heard about it. She said, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? I said, nothing. She said, you're coming to my house. But I tell you that story just to say that that's the type of environment that Cooley was to me. And that's who my professors, that's who they are. And I take that, and I'm forever grateful because of it.
So how did you end up with Journey to Esquire? I remember we were having a discussion. Your eyes almost popped open. I forget why we were meeting. I think to talk about your internship. And I said, oh, that sounds like the story of David, where his dad, Jesse, tried to front like they didn't know who he was when the prophet came to town talking about one of your sons is going to be a great king. And he said, look at my handsome son. He said, no, where's the other guy? Some other guy. And the prophet's like, don't play me now. Where's your other son? And you said, I just heard that sermon. I was literally just listening to that sermon. Do you remember that conversation?
I absolutely remember that conversation.
And your eyes were like, Professor, like I literally just was thinking about that sermon. I'm like, well, that tells you something. That's a sign. So what made you want to be an intern for Journey to Esquire? And you were the first, you helped launch this very podcast. So thank you for that. Because we're in season 3 now.
Absolutely.
And what was that like for you?
Absolutely. You know what? It was just confirmation for me. Just from that conversation, like I'm big on as a spiritual person. So just to hear that story and to have that conversation, it felt like I was already at home. So as soon as she told me about the opportunity, and I hadn't necessarily done too much, too many things electronically, a podcast, but I was like, hey, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to see how can we make this thing great. And that's just a great tribute to who you are, your dedication to the future of our legal community, and your love for students as well.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I do love teaching and I do love my students, even though they call me hard ass Hardrick, but I'll take it. So I know your journey to Esquire is complete. This is the point where we usually ask, lawyers, like, what was your job search like in your first job? But you're still in the process, right? How's that going for you?
still in the process, especially with the video going viral the way that it did. So I'm going to continue just to be patient, pray, trust God, and just allow him to continue to lead me to where he wants me to go. And I just look to be the best servant that I can be for our communities and also to our nation.
Nice. And now here's one of the best parts of the podcast. What advice do you have for new and future law students listening in, trying to figure out, should I go to law school? Or I'm struggling right now, how am I going to make it? Or maybe I'm studying for that bar exam one more time. Should I go for it? Or should I put in one more application? What advice do you have for them?
I would say you will win if you do not quit. That would be my best advice. And it was my experience. It's what I lived. And I know for me personally, you're going to have your naysayers. You're going to have people who may not see what it is that you see. And that's okay. You got to be okay with that. And another thing that I would even add on is to take care of your mental health, not just in law school, but before. There may be some things that may have happened to some individuals before law school. Those things are not going to go away just because you got into law school. And those things are definitely not going to go away just because you're getting ready to prepare for the bar exam. Life does not stop just because you're in law school. Life also does not stop just because you're taking the bar exam. So even for me, going through the loss of my sister, you can add on the rejections, the disappointments, the closed doors that I had. That's all that's trauma. Those things, I acknowledge those things, as I was going through my own journey, to seeking to make sure that I have my mental health and wellness in check. Those things didn't go away, but those are things that we had to deal with. And I'm to the point in understanding now and gaining that education behind mental health and wellness is that if we don't deal with things at a point in life when it doesn't cost us much, eventually we may get to a point in life when it may cost us everything. So deal with your mental health, deal with your issues, deal with that trauma, deal with that. It doesn't go away. Some things you may not be able to overcome, but some things you may have to learn how to manage. And that's the process that I've been able to learn by going through even my grieving process. Some things, it's not going to go away, but just to be able to be equipped with the tools that you need to learn how to live a stronger day-to-day life so that it's not impacting you in a negative way. So, and then the last thing that I would say is practical. Don't lose your practical approach as you're in law school, and don't lose your practical approach when it comes to the bar. And what I mean by that is, if you know that you're going to be tested, let's say by 200 multiple choice questions for an MBE, practice 200 multiple choice questions. If you know that you're going to be given 6 essays, you want to practice those essays. There should be nothing in the game that you have not seen on practice. It's not necessarily solely about memorization as it is about recognition. And that would be my advice to present and also future just law students in the present, and also people who are going to be taking the bar exam.
That is great advice. Sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing, we forget the obvious stuff, right? Practice what you're going to do. And I love how you said when you got to law school, you already felt like it was like deja vu, because you had visualized yourself there so much that it became real in your mind. So when you actually were living it, it felt like you were doing it for a second time. Same thing with the bar exam, same thing with practicing law. You really got to believe in yourself first. You got to be able to see yourself there, and then you put in the work, right? Faith without works is dead. So thank you so much, Mr. Ray Curtis Petty, Jr., Esquire. Counselor, gosh, I've been waiting to say that. Love saying that. And I love when my y'all are grown, but y'all my babies too. My babies make it. It's like, Mama, I made it. And I'm so proud of y'all. Thank you so much for coming back to the podcast and sharing your wisdom and making time in your very busy schedule. So we'll keep up with you in all your viral videos and your news interviews. Definitely stay in touch. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to Journey to Esquire, the podcast. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And for more, go to journeytoesquire.com.